The rain fell steadily over Gloucester, casting a cold gray haze over the abandoned house on Cromwell Street. The West's home had become a haunting place, sealed off with police tape. No longer a family residence, it had been transformed into a crime scene. A house where, for more than 2 decades, untold horrors had been carefully hidden beneath the surface. The house had seemed ordinary to outsiders, rows of Victorian terraces nestled along the quiet streets of a suburban neighborhood. Fred West, the patriarch, had been just another local tradesman. He built houses, worked hard, and always had a story to tell. Rose, his wife, kept to herself. She was often seen watching from the window as children played in the yard. But there was something unsettling about the way she observed. Their house at first glance seemed normal. But it was here that their crimes had been carefully orchestrated, carried out methodically by a man who reveled in control and domination. The discovery of Heather West's body under the patio had been the catalyst. For years, the West children had jokingly spoken of their sister being under the patio, but no one had ever taken it seriously. It was just another dark family secret that everyone, consciously or not, had chosen to ignore. But when the police arrived and began digging, the truth slowly surfaced. The body was found, shocked, decomposed, but undeniably human. It wasn't just a forgotten runaway. It was their own flesh and blood. Heather West, the oldest daughter, had been brutally murdered by the very people who were supposed to protect her. The police, now fully aware of the horrors that had taken place behind the walls of 25 Cromwell Street, began a full investigation into the West's lives. What they uncovered over the coming weeks would send shockwaves through the community. Fred West, arrested and brought in for questioning, had shown no emotion when confronted with the bodies of his victims. He sat in the interrogation room, calm and composed, as if explaining a minor inconvenience. He had, after all, already confessed to the crimes. His admissions were chilling in their casualness. He spoke about the women, each victim lured into the home with promises of a better life. Some were runaways, some were strangers, picked up off the streets. All of them were young, vulnerable, and ultimately helpless in the face of Fred's sadistic desires. He recounted the torture, the violence, as if he were talking about a job he did day after day. There was no remorse, no guilt, just a cold, detached recounting of his twisted routine. And then there was Rose. She stood apart from Fred in the narrative. She hadn't been the one to initiate the violence, but she was complicit in every way that mattered. Police soon discovered that Rose had been just as active in the abuse as Fred. She had, in fact, been the one to help in the most brutal of acts. Victims were drugged, bound, and tortured, and Rose had been there, sometimes holding them down, sometimes aiding Fred in the most gruesome ways. She didn't just stand by, she participated. Survivors spoke of her cruelty. They remembered her laughter as she helped Fred terrorize his victims. The West's relationship wasn't just built on love, it was built on domination, and Rose had been as much of an instigator as Fred. The photographs found in the house were a chilling testament to their shared depravity. Dozens of pictures, some taken by Rose, showed their victims bound, drugged, or unconscious, their faces frozen in terror. In many of the photos, Rose was present, sometimes smiling, sometimes posing beside Fred, as if they were the proud owners of a dark secret. The images were evidence of a sadistic bond, one that transcended love or even lust. It was about control, about stripping away the humanity of those who had fallen into their grasp. The West's reign of terror wasn't limited to just strangers. Fred and Rose had taken their own children, their biological and adopted children, and turned them into unwilling accomplices. Some children had witnessed the horrors firsthand, but others, too young to understand, had been forced into a twisted, distorted view of what family was supposed to be. Fred and Rose manipulated them, making them believe that what they were doing was normal. The older children, those who understood more, were often left to wonder in silence. They didn't speak up, not at first. They didn't understand the full extent of what was happening in their own home. And when they did, they were too afraid to say anything. There was no escaping the house, no way out. The West had locked them in with their dark secrets. As the bodies continued to be unearthed, each discovery seemed more gruesome than the last. The garden of 25 Cromwell Street had become a graveyard, where women, some of whom had been missing for years, were buried without a trace, forgotten by the world until the truth was finally uncovered. The police began to piece together a grim pattern, one that started long before the West's arrest. In 1971, Fred had killed his own daughter, Charmaine, in a fit of rage, and later dismembered her body. Her remains had been buried in a different property, never discovered until much later. But there were more, so many more. Linda Goff, a young seamstress. Shirley Robinson, a pregnant woman whose life Fred had taken in 1978. The victims were all different, but they shared one common trait. They were all young women, vulnerable and alone when they met the Wests. Among the most disturbing discoveries was Lucy Partington, a university student who had gone missing in 1973. For 21 years, her family had searched for her, hoping for some clue, some sign that she was still alive. They had no idea she was lying in the basement of a house in Gloucester. Her bones, discovered in the cellar, were a testament to the cruelty of the Wests. Lucy had disappeared into the dark, only to be consumed by the very home where Fred and Rose had made their twisted fantasies a reality. Fred's arrest did nothing to stop the slow and steady revelation of more horrors. In the weeks that followed, the bodies kept coming, each one more heartbreaking than the last. But the most harrowing of all was Heather West, the girl who had been discarded like so much trash. The daughter Fred had killed, and then buried beneath the patio, as if she were just another victim. But Heather was different. She had been a part of the family, a part of the house that had harbored these atrocities for years. In the end, Heather's death became a symbol of the cruelty and manipulation that had taken place under the roof of Cromwell Street. As Fred confessed to his crimes, Rose maintained her innocence. She was arrested in the days following Fred's admission, but she never showed any real emotion. Cold, calculated, and detached, Rose refused to answer most questions. She would not give up the secrets Fred had kept hidden, but those who had witnessed the terror inside the house knew the truth. Fred and Rose West had created a world of horror, a world where violence and control were the only rules. The world they built had been one of twisted love and abuse, where the bodies of the innocent were hidden beneath the floorboards, and where the only thing that mattered was their dark desires. The investigation into the West crimes was just beginning. What they had uncovered was only the tip of the iceberg. More victims would be discovered, more families would mourn, and the horrors of 25 Cromwell Street would haunt Gloucester forever. If this story hooked you, subscribe for more gripping tales and mysteries. New videos every week. To be continued.